Okay, good morning once again, and welcome to this session. My name is Abiodun Ajoshun. Um, I'm a senior GLC consultant. I'm also an auditor, a licensed auditor by MSCCB. I'm a certified trainer by PCB, TRISET, TMB, and a host of other organization certification bodies. So today I will be taking us through this particular topic um, because I kind of figured out that a lot of organizations are still failing. Especially this year, there have been a lot of data breaches across the continent, for numerous organizations. So it's not just a breach that is peculiar to just the small organizations or probably organizations. It's something that is which is pretty much why this topic is a very important one that we are going to discuss today. So I have a slide there which I'm going to be projecting, and I'm going to also try my possible best to ensure that we all understand, what this topic is trying to tell us. Okay, so I would appreciate, if we, make some jottings and also prepare some questions to be asked at the end of this session. So to help and it's training also then to be security aware culture. Lastly, understand how and support the street. I said to organizations for help think of payments of salaries or of purchases, financial payments, roll calls, um, operations at the departmental level, even down to access control as of today. A lot of organizations drive these processes with the usage of technology. Now, just because you have great and expensive technology, that doesn't equate, that, oh, there won't be a breach. Okay. It's so unlikely that, oh, just because you're putting in place great, expensive, complex technology in place, that there won't be a breach. No, that cannot be assured. That cannot be assured at 100%. Okay. And the reason for that is because there's a human factor to it. Okay. Now, every of this technology, there's always an human who directs, who controls those technology at the other end. Okay? They control this technology at the other end. So you want to ensure that these people who are controlling or who are operating this technology at the other end are handling this, with a security conscious mind. Okay? With a security conscious mind. Because the truth is that the attackers, which are the social engineers, the hackers, the black hackers, and all of that, they're pretty much not going to, yes, of course, they will target the technology, but also they would also target the people in charge of this technology. Okay? They will also target the people in charge of this technology through numerous means. Okay? So, yes, employees or staff of the organization can either be the weakest link or the safest, defense that you have got there. But all of this is dependent on the culture of the organization in question. Okay. Now, so why does security control fail? One of the major issues why security control fail is the poor user awareness and security culture in an organization. That is the first reason. And the reason is that a lot of organizations do not invest in the security, in the security training of staff. In fact, what they do is pretty much in terms of security awareness is probably doing the onboarding. When they are doing an onboarding, they tell the staff, oh, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do, this, you have to do that, you have to do this. And pretty much that's where it ends. There's no continuity in the aspect of what needs, there's no continuity in the aspect of, a continuous awareness program being organized for these staff. Okay, a continuous awareness program being organized for the staff. No, and that is wrong, on every sense. Okay, that's why you see that a lot of staff, are doing some of these things that are very wrong, but because of a lot of organizations have not trained them, so they probably might not even know that what they are doing is wrong. Okay, but if an organization, is as invested heavily in training and doing a proper awareness in order to put security awareness culture of the firm, then of course a lot of security won't fail. Of course, also weak password and credential you will use. This is a byproduct of a weak security culture awareness, in the firm. Because when you don't do an awareness, a lot of people will continually use, they will continually use the same password over and over again. But an institution whereby an organization is probably doing an security awareness probably 4 times in a, 4 times in a year, and they kept on hammering on the importance of why you should not reuse your password. There is no way an employee will not be security conscious, and there's no way they would repeat the same mistake that has been overemphasized. Okay. Also, another pointer which I would also say is the reason why security fails is because staff, is because a lot of organizations do not put in place disciplinary measures against you violating security policies and controls. It's a very, very big reason. And that's pretty much what is in the 4th point, which says policy fatigue and lack of accountability. Because of a lot of organizations, a lot of people flaunt policies, security policies that was in place to help ensure that the organization has a chance to fight against these attackers. Now, if those organizations have an adequate, disciplinary actions against defaulters, then trust me, everyone in the firm is definitely going to sit up and adjust and take accountability for their actions. Also, reason why security failed is because of the social engineers and phishing attacks. Okay, because we know this social engineering is when a social engineer or someone tries to control, another person to divulge sensitive information. So, because of poor security awareness culture, a lot of social engineer can easily engineer someone else to divulge sensitive information or even perform certain actions, which will, lead to the data breaches or unauthorized access to sensitive information of the firm because they have not been properly made aware of some of these threats. Also, we have insider threat. Insider threat is just saying that someone purposely, breaking or someone purposely making it easy for these threat actors to easily just have access to, our information. Probably there is a staff that's probably not happy with how he or she's been treated. Maybe probably based on pay. Some staff could purposely, break policies, could purposely, put in place controls that are very, very weak and which can be exploited by someone outside of the firm. Also, they might even be the one trying to penetrate the organizational structure, trying to weaken it from inside just because they are not happy. So insider threat is a very, very, very big threat, especially for organizations that do not have like a separation of duties. When you don't have a separation of duties, then you are more likely to fall into this, you are more likely to bear a greater consequences from an insider threat. It's very dangerous. Now, understanding human behavior when it comes to cybersecurity. I always tell every of our clients, okay, that putting in place cybersecurity controls is not going to help you. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have. Putting controls in place is not something, we feel like, this will make this easier for us. Things will make, a lot of things will make, this will make this easier for us. This will make this certain process go. No, that's pretty much not what, a lot of people, that's pretty much not what security is all about. Cybersecurity is all about ensuring that information, the confidentiality of information is assured, the integrity of information is assured, and reliability of information to authorized personnel. Okay. Now, some of the behaviors that we have seen over time is that a lot of people will override security control because it's not aiding. It's not aiding. When I say aiding, probably it's not helping them fast track their process or the activities that they conduct in the firm. So they override it. I know of developers that security settings that has been implemented by the firm, they find a way to disable it because of it is slowing down their work. Cybersecurity is not meant to be convenient. Cybersecurity is meant to keep you, it's meant to keep you safe. It's meant to keep you safe. Now, the same thing goes for the employee focusing on productivity over compliance. A lot of people just want to, let me get this done, let me meet with my KPIs and I'm good. No, there are certain things you should comply with. So because of they are focused on just the productivity aspect, they cross lines, they break policies, they ignore policies. And all of these are opening them up for, threat actors to maneuver and to exploit the system. People also trust familiar looking emails, pretty much why phishing emails is on the rise. Okay? Because whenever you see an email that probably you get from your popular vendors or probably even from your colleagues, you probably just go straight into it, reading it, and downloading. If it comes with an attachment, that's pretty much not how it's supposed to be. That's pretty much not how it's supposed to be. So whenever an email's coming, you need to be conscious, especially in a situation whereby those emails comes with an attachment. You need to be conscious of who is sending those emails. Try and confirm. This email is coming from this person. Try and check the domain sending it. It's important. It's very important. It's an important concept of this, for information security. For people, when they see emails from probably like a familiar address, or probably they see from a familiar vendor or client they engage with, they just believe it's the best. But that's not how it is. That's not how it's supposed to be. Stress, fatigue, and workload increases mistake. Probably when you you are overworked, then of course you are more likely to make mistakes because you probably might not pay attention to some of these simple things you're supposed to pay attention to. Okay, another behavior that I've cited over time is the lack of accountability in the firm, because a lot of people do not take accountability for the security responsibility that they have been charged with. A lot of people in the firm, a lot of staff in the firm believe that, information security is not my function. That's wrong. An organization is only as strong as its weakest, is only as its people. So if you have weak people, it's definitely going to tell on the organization. Okay, so they're going to tell. So you all have the responsibility to discharge as it relates to information security, and of course, securing, assets of an organization. Very important that we note that, regardless of whatever position we hold, probably down from the cleaner, down to the receptionist, down to the security guards. All of these people have a role to play. Then, of course, moving up, down, even down to the CEO, he also has a role to play too, because no one is exempted from attacks from threat actors. No one. So what are those commonly human-related cybersecurity risks? We have accidental data leakage. And this is something that could occur probably when someone is interfacing with a complex system they don't understand. Okay, you just have access to a certain system. You don't really understand how to maneuver through that system. Then that's definitely going to become an issue. Okay, that is definitely going to become an issue. So we need to ensure, that whatever systems, whatever application is accessible to staff or employees, every of those employees needs to have, every of those employees needs to know how to maneuver through it. Also, improper handling of sensitive information. That's also one of the commonly related, cybersecurity risks, commonly human related. And the reason for this is because a lot of organizations do not put in place adequate classification scheme for their documentation. So because of you have not adequately defined how or classify your information, then this is going to be a very big issue. So as an organization, you are expected to classify your information for information that is accessible to public personnel or the public as a whole, even down to your clients. Those are meant to be classified as the public information and to be handled as such. Information that is restricted to just people in the firm, probably for them to go through their deliverables or operations of the firm, then we can call that a restricted or an internal use documentation. Now you go further, there's an organization that, yes, I might be working with a particular organization. However, there are certain aspects of information that I have access to. Just because I'm working on it doesn't mean I'm going to have access to it. Someone in HR will probably have access to a more sensitive data like, your health records, your address, all of that, you can have access to it. However, just because we are in the same level, working in the same firm, that doesn't mean it's going to be available to everyone in the firm. So those kind of information can be titled as a restricted information. Yes, it's information that is restricted to a particular department. Same thing goes for an accounting. Accounting handles financial data. Someone who is handling it might be someone who is on the same level as you are, but because you are in the IT space, you probably might not have access to that data also. We also have weak remote working practice. A lot of organizations has gone, remote. But even at that, there is no control as to how remote working settings should be should actually look like. So that's why a lot of people will just work from anywhere, place their system anyhow. Also, usage of personal device even while working from home. A lot of organizations just say, okay, probably because you want to use your personal device for work, they will not put an extra control for that, and that is wrong in every sense. I also missed out on the phishing and business compromise email. This is one of the most, human security related attacks, especially when we fall into it. Especially when we fall victim, probably we click on those links, we click on the URL, we avoid certain information due to whatever phishing method is being used, probably phishing, whatever method is being used. Once we fall into it, and it's on the rise, even as of this age. Another common human-related cybersecurity risk is the failure to report incident promptly. A lot of times, people will experience incidents, but we don't report them. Especially in situations whereby, we are still able to continue our job function. But that shouldn't be the case. When we cite something that is out of place, that is affecting our ability to deliver, then we are supposed to report it to the party who will help us fix it. But a lot of people will just leave the incident, they'll just leave that scenario, they'll say, Papa, I'll come back to this, maybe to have gone. No, that's not. Immediately you spot it, you report it. That is how to ensure that the incidents are closed on time. Okay? So this is just talking about case studies when controls exist but fail. Organization add an MFA, multi-factor authentication, firewall, and endpoint protection. However, employee clicked a phishing email pretending to be from finance. So because they clicked on that phishing email, credentials were stolen and used for unauthorized access by the hacker. Now, the root cause of this issue is that lack of security and verification culture. The organization does not have, they don't have great awareness, security awareness session being held. They don't have that culture. And of course, the verification aspect here. Oh, you got an email, probably asking for certain information. It's your responsibility to even confirm from the person who sent it. That's what that is within. You can call, hey, hello, I got an email from you. Should I accept it or should I reject it? Or is this email coming from you? Or if it's yes, then you go ahead and share whatever information they're asking for. But it's not whether it's not from them. Then you know that it's a wrong email. But even do that, check the that email. We check it. You see, of this threat. One thing is financial losses. A lot of firms loses money from ransomware. A lot of organizations are being held to ransom. A lot of organizations, their systems is inaccessible. Their availability power, so they are losing money in every of this scenario. Also, regulatory priorities, where they whereby a particular threat actor has gotten away with a lot of sensitive data, that goes against the GDPR, NDPR, and all of that. Then you'll be placed on heavy sanctions. Okay. We also have operational disruption. Because of your system is down, availability of system, because you already gave out credentials you shouldn't give out to a party you shouldn't give out to. They may probably, encrypt your data that probably you need to work. And that's going to disrupt your operations. Okay, it's definitely going to disrupt your operation. Of course, customers are going to lose trust. No customer want to do business with an organization that can't guarantee them of the safety of their data, money, finances, or whatever the case might be. Also, reputational damage, where people already know that organization is always going to be hacked. They have no perfect control. They have no great control. Then a lot of people will want to avoid using your business. Then, of course, business continuity impact. A lot of people might not be able to operate in perpetuality. And that's pretty much the importance of opening a business, to continually operate in perpetuality. So when these errors are becoming too much, then it becomes an issue. So these are the signs that your security awareness program is failing. Employees cannot identify phishing news. If your firm that you're working with, or if your employees that you're working with cannot easily spot that, they are being sent a phishing email, then trust me, your security awareness program is done for. Okay, that means it's failing. Training is also being done for compliance purposes. It is also failing. Training should be something that is done for continuous improvement of staff. Then it's famous. Let me on 500. You observe that for the awareness, just like 100 people are in it. Right now, that's 100 people. That means the security awareness program is failing, because security awareness program wants to ensure that every one of the, if you have 500 staff should be available for that awareness activity. Okay. Also, employee fear reporting mistakes. No one is above mistakes. You see, about an organization whereby there's a lot of fear, that has been imposed on employees. They can't really make mistakes as part of their work. So whenever they make those mistakes, they don't report it, then it's going to be an issue. It's definitely going to be an issue. And of course, one of the major reasons why, or one of the signs that you can point out to say, oh, this organization is failing, and in the next 2-3 years they would have gone out of business, is when the organization is seeing security as just an IT business. Say that no, it's the IT team, the network team, the infrastructure team that is in charge of security in our firm, and they dump everything on them, then there's definitely going to be an issue. That's something you should note. Because security is everyone's business. Security is everyone's business. Now, moving down to building a security-aware culture. First things first we need to know is that when we want to build this culture, top management must be involved. In fact, top management should be the ringleader to drive from the top. I manage that process. Everyone of them is to gain and close attention to those, that all activity for something that we're doing in isolation. No, as part of it, discharging the task to achieve certain objectives. Management, security operations should be considered. Also, encourage accountability at all levels. Everyone should be aware of what will occur when they violate security policies. Also, reward secure behavior. These organizations reward security behaviors, people who are adhering to policy, people who have not been breached, people who are doing what is expected of them. Lastly, is promote continuous communication and engagement. There must be a continuous communication whereby we are constantly sending tips to staff members. We are constantly reminding them of their security, of their security responsibility, of their security commitment. That's pretty much going to help build a security-aware culture. Now, what are the characteristics of an effective awareness program? One thing is role-based training. We don't want a training, we don't want an awareness that, oh, it's just general alone. Now, when it is general, there are a lot of rules that what they expect or what they want, or what would help push them, to become better is just doing an awareness based on the role they occupy. And that's the best way to also go about, aside from having a general awareness. The whole thing saying, oh, you are handling, your hand, you should have a training pertaining to this awareness. Okay, so that when you are involved in this, whenever there are threats that so do it. Also, usage of simulations and real-life scenarios is important. Okay, usage of simulations and real-life situations. And this is where you want to see the understanding of test, the understanding of staff or employees in your firm. You want to be sure that they have understood whatever their awareness session is talking about and they can react based on that. Also, make sure that the awareness program is short and engaging. People must be engaged, people must contribute. Also, metrics driven. Check for the numbers of attendance, check for the number of people who pass the exam, people who sat for the exam. So basically, you should be able to know that yes, this awareness was effective. Also, feedback and reporting channel established. There must be, there must create an environment, feedback, and of course, report to repair. Now, we have spoken a lot about social security and how human against achieving the benefits. Now let's talk about some of the concept of framework or standard that can be used to achieve it. And one of those standards is ISO 27001. Now we have other standards. We have the frameworks. We have the NIST cybersecurity framework. Okay. We have the COSO. We have the EPA. We have the GDPR. We have a lot of framework and standard. But this is peculiar to just ISO 27001. So after ISO 27001, ISO 27001 is a standard, is a standard established by the ISO, that is the International Standardization Organization. It addresses information security management systems, okay? And it's a certifiable standard by compliance firm. That the organization can get certified to this standard, even down to individuals. For individuals aspect, it shows your competence. Now, how does this 27001 help? It helps define security. It helps define requirement for security. So when you go through the standard, there is a requirement that speaks to security awareness for staff and their competencies also. It states that, for every staff, everyone in the firm, they must be aware of the organization policy, they must be aware of how they are going to contribute towards ensuring information security is achieved. It also encourages you have to conduct a risk assessment. You have to come up with a risk assessment process and conduct it. It also helps promote leadership involvement. Clause 7, clause 5 speaks to leadership commitment. So without top management, plays a very big role, when we are looking at cybersecurity based on the 27001 concept. And of course, the clause 10 speaks to continuous improvement of the 27001. Okay, so if you are implementing 27001, continuous improvement is a requirement that you must implement. It's a very germane and important standard requirement that you must implement. You must put controls in place against it. Now, the last part is saying integrate people, processes, and technology. When you go down to the annexes, a lot of controls for the Annex A. The A5 is speaking to organizational control. A6 is speaking to people's control. A7 is speaking to physical control. A8 is speaking to technology control. All of these controls must be integrated into a one strong arm, so as to help build the organization security posture. Okay. Now, based on some of those clauses I made mention of, you can see clause 5 speaks to leadership and commitment. Clause 6 speaks to risk assessment and treatment. Clause 7 is speaking to competence, whereby he's saying that everyone in the firm, probably especially those who have those security controls, implement security controls, they need to be competent, either on the basis of skills acquisition, probably experience or training, or probably even based on the fact that I've gone to school for 4 years and 3 years, whatever the years is, and there's an evidence to show for that. Of course, you see the awareness here, 7.3 is very important. Then, of course, you can see Annex A related control. There's a lot of Annex A related control. Annex A related control, that is the A6. Speaking majorly of that, people control. Because under this people control, it speaks to controls to ensure that people are aligned with the organizational best practice. Under people control, it speaks on disciplinary action for violators of the policy. It speaks on terms and conditions of employment. So that's when they talk about the confidentiality of secrecy. That's when they talk about adhering to the terms and conditions of the organization. That's what they talk about doing a background check to be sure whoever we are employing or getting to the firm is not a threat actor, is not someone that is going to probably give us or put us in a difficult situation. Okay, and of course, there's an aspect that also speaks to incident reporting and acceptable use policy. Okay. What are those metrics that give us assurance now that we are sure as it relates to security, concern? The first is the phishing simulation success rate. Okay, phishing simulation success rate. So if we have 10, let's say we have 3 simulations planned, and we are able to achieve those simulations, then of course it means that we are taking information security effective. Now, of course, the report of those simulations will still give us an insight as to people we should look at paying closer attention to. Okay. Now, so not close 50 every month, but now because of we paying close attention to information security, we are probably be having something around 20, even not continuously, Then of course training completion rate, how well people are trained, how well people are complete their training. Then reduction in repeat security violations. When people are constantly doing the same or violating the same policy over and over again, then there's an issue with your controls. Condition whereby people are the security violation they are doing is now different in terms of if someone violates a policy A, we do an awareness, you just let them understand how it's affecting violation. They're never going to repeat such a violation anymore. I'm not saying they're not going to still violate other policies, but I'm saying for that particular one, it has reduced because now they're paying closer and better attention to security of, to the security of the firm. Employee feedbacks and engagement. Employees are always giving you feedback, they're always engaging you, always trying to know what's going on. They're always also trying to contribute their own quota. That shows that for awareness is effective. Of course, audit and compliance is a no-brainer and it's a must. You must conduct an audit exercise, periodically based on your organization policies. Moving on is leadership roles in security. I can always say, like I also says, leadership plays a very important. Without leadership commitment, we might not achieve security in the firm. And that's why clause 5.1 of the annex of clause 5.1 of the iExperts speaks a lot on ways and manner in top management could help show commitment towards security culture in the firm. First things first, they need to influence behaviors of individuals, behaviors of the staff. How? Probably through establishment of security policies, through the establishment of security objectives that is made available to everyone, through the provision of resources to people, by promoting trust and transparency, by ensuring that there's a correlation between the security objectives to the business objective, so that when you're meeting with the business objective, you're also meeting with the security. When you're meeting with the security objective, you're also meeting with the business objective, so that it could make a lot of sense that way. Okay. Also, management should also preach. The management should also, it should also practice what they preach. So you can't be telling a staff, oh, do this, and you're doing direct opposite. Okay, whenever a staff coming in, you're telling the staff, oh, whenever you're coming in, always put in your bags, whatever device you have in the scanner. But because you are the CEO, you won't do that. You just walk through the scanning team or security guards and you move it. That's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to lead. So these are practical recommendations for organization. First things first is conduct regular human risk assessment. Risk assessment for humans needs to be conducted. And these humans in a broad category. I'm talking about employees, I'm talking about third parties, I'm talking about top management, I'm talking about vendors. These are important, and even down to clients. It's very, very, very important. Okay, also implement phishing simulation. From time to time, the firm should ensure that these simulations just to ensure that people are aware of, they're constantly up on their toes to just ensure that they are not being hacked. Of course, reviewing and simplifying policy. When you have a complex policy, no one is going to read it. Especially when those policies is very hard to understand. Probably when it's too long, nobody's going to read it. So create a policy that people can easily relate to and they would adhere to. Encourage a no-blame reporting culture. So when someone reports, you don't say, why did you report this? No. Create an environment where anyone can easily report without the fear of, being singled out. And of course, continuous improvement based on your metrics, because you have a metric that guides you, that says that, oh, you are not doing well yet, but then you are improving on those things. Those are practical recommendations for improving your security posture. Now, the future trends in human-centric cybersecurity, behavior analytics. This is when people's behavior are being analyzed throughout our time. This is when we want to see who are always the culprit as it relates to cybersecurity, so that we can either we let them go, or probably we can treat them in terms of enrolling them for more trainings, practical trainings, and even down to also knowing the kind of access we'll be giving them, more information that they'll be handling as part of their job function. Also, AI-driven awareness platform is now becoming a trend whereby you can enroll in a platform that is AI driven and just to teach you, some of these security best practices. Also, adaptive security training. Okay, so training is something that's probably being done on the go now. Even on your LMS, there's a training. The law firm would integrate some practices, some courses into it. Some would also ensure that they are training based on the role or operations that you do. Those are adaptive security. It's not just a one-size-fits-all kind of training any longer. Of course, the security culture benchmarking, having a metric to say we shall never go down anything below this. Oh, we shall never do this. Security culture benchmark. And of course, human risk scoring is also very important. And of course, focusing on insider threat. Like I said, they are very dangerous. Insider threat are very, very dangerous. Okay, so these are just some of the questions that I probably want to ask. Probably when you can answer, you can drop in the chat box, or probably when the mic is unmuted, you can ask whatever the method is for this. You can just answer some of these questions. Now, the first one is, what is the biggest human-related security risks in your organization? You want to know what are those things you have observed that serve as a risk to your organization. Also, what initiatives, what awareness initiatives have you worked, for your teams? These are questions I just want to have answers to. Then, how can leadership better support security culture in your firm? So you can just answer these 3 questions in the chat box. Now, what are those key takeaways from this particular course? Number 1, human behavior is the major cause of control failure. Okay, that's one thing you should note. That's one thing you should pay close attention to and should be aware of. Also, technology alone cannot secure organization. So you can get the best tool, you can get the best, you get the best, you get the best SIM tool, you get the best PAM tool, you get the best, you get the best DLP, you get the best data masking tool. You block your tools, you enroll you make use of VPN to access your organizational network. You do all of that, but technology alone cannot solve it. You have the best, antivirus, probably abilities of Kaspersky or Windows Defender, advanced threat protection, whatever it is. Technology alone cannot secure you. You need people. Awareness must be a continuous and measurable. It must be continuous and measurable. You need to constantly measure your performance. And your development, they're very happy that the result is someone how people actually, believe, respect, so as to ensure that you get every stakeholders buying. Lastly, is ensure that ISO 27001 provides a framework for human-centric security. So the standard is broken down into the clauses and the annexes. The clauses have clauses 4 down to 10. The annexes have 4 domains, people's control, but there are a lot of controls within every of these things that addresses information security and the next corrections 2001. Okay, so that will be all from my end. Thank you everyone for participating. Thank everyone for making our time to be in this webinar. So now I'm going to take questions and I'm going to take questions. Thank you. Please. Any question, please? So the question here, how can security teams measure whether awareness training is truly changing employee behavior, not just proving attendance? Okay, so I'm going to answer this question. So the best way for organizations to do this, I think there are 2 or 3 ways to actually do this. First things first, after every awareness session, okay? After every awareness session, the security team needs to also pull out a security quiz or a quiz, awareness quiz for that particular session. Okay, so you need to ensure that people on the awareness session, they're actually listening. You want to be sure they're listening. You want to be sure they understand every of the concept that was discussed. Okay, you want to be sure that you do not have a zombie in the class. You have actual people who are participating and listening. That's one way for you to, that's one way for you to actually know that people are actually listening to this security program. And of course, it also further influence their behavior. But aside from that, another way to do this is after trainings to always do a form of phishing test. It's very important. A phishing test. Now, what this phishing test does is this phishing test help you understand. So it's kind of also give clarity in the terms of who are the people who has understood the concept of this training. Who are the people that, probably in the particular awareness session you talked about, let me say, phishing and how to recognize phishing emails and all of that. Now, when you do that training, you do like a phishing test, a simulation test. You send it out, you push it out. It could be like, oh, probably a salary increase or something like that. And you probably have a link for people to, redirect them somewhere and input that details. You just want to see who are going to fall for this. Something like that. That's also a way to also ensure, that's also a way to ensure that, yes, you are changing behaviors of employee, and also to gauge how well people are actually listening, to how well people are actually listening to those awareness sessions and how well they're incorporating, some of the best practices being disseminated in such an awareness training. Okay, so that's that on that question. That's from Arina Iliad. The second question here is from Ahmed. Okay, Ahmed Husseini. He says that how can cybersecurity teams make control more user-friendly while still maintaining compliance with standards such as ISO 27001, SOC 2, or PCI DSS? Okay, so this is how can cybersecurity team makes control more user-friendly while still maintaining compliance standard like ISO 27001, SOC 2, and PCI DSS. Okay, so the best way to do this is, of course, still through the reorientation of supply of customers, of your staff. Okay, so the best way to just do this majorly is to implement some of these controls. Take, for instance, ISO 27001 is saying that there should be a signed oath of secrecy. So now that for you to implement this, you implement it from the side, from the HR or human resource end. So whenever an human resource is, or whenever someone new is coming into the firm, there is a form of orientation that is being done to the person to let them understand the need for why we are doing this. So this way, even from their onboarding stage, whereby they are coming into the firm, they are aware of some of these things. So it's not going to be that, oh, they started the work and we are dumping some of these things on them. Probably it's more work for them. No, you're letting them know that this is an organization that is information security strict. There are information, and you're also putting in place controls to ensure that your practices ensure the confidentiality, integrity of and availability of information. You start by ensuring that everyone who is coming to the firm, they are aware of the sign and oath of secrecy, but it could also be called, some organization would probably give their staff an NDA, so I would say a compliance documentation, confidentiality documentation, whatever the title is. You start from there. Then, of course, before coming to the firm, there's also terms and conditions of employment. Now, you make it security terms and conditions. These are not terms that speaks to, oh, this is what you should achieve in the firm. No, this is talking about how we expect you to make use of whatever data, information, or assets is going to be given to you. This also supports the AUP. That's the acceptable use policy. Okay. Now, from the acceptable use policy, people are only going to just based on whatever assets you are given. So it's not that you are saying that, oh, because you're working in a firm, you would have to know every of these requirements by PCI or by ISO 27001. No, the ones that relate to your job function, you need to ensure you use those data or those information, those assets in line with the organizational policy. Whatever emails, you use it in line with the organizational policy. And we do a form of reorientation and awareness and training, because you need to train them to make them more familiar with some of these requirements so they can actually make sense of it and they will see the importance in it. But the situation whereby you're not training them and you are not even doing an awareness, they will probably might not see the need of why we are doing this. Then at that point, it will become something that is stressful to them. You're pretty much just stressing them because you're just telling them to do this, You're not telling them the why. Why are we even doing this? You show them live examples, probably when a breach occurs to a competitor or probably to organization in another different industry, you send them the news. Communicate with them, oh, this has happened to this firm. Read what happened, why it happened. That way, you will be building this security culture within them, and it will be friendly to them. And of course, you also have to ensure, because like I said, for this security practice is an ongoing process. So you will not bring up, oh, this is the best control and you must get it once. No, it's going to be bulky and it's going to weigh them down. Okay, so you have to start from somewhere. You cannot say you want to start implementing ISO 27001. Probably you want to implement it for the very first time, and you now want to change every of your tools that you have been using before just to meet with this. It's not practicable. It's not encouraged at all. You start with what they are used to, then gradually you start implementing some of the practices that should cause a behavioral and cultural change. That way, it will be more friendly to them. They would easily be able to execute whatever requirement is expected by the PCI, SOC 2, or 27001. Okay, so that's pretty much how this can be done. But those controls still needs to be met, but it doesn't really necessarily have to be, oh, let's do an awesome change to our processes. Let's do an awesome change to our systems. Okay. So that's that on that. I hope that answers the question. So please, any other question, please? Any other question, please? Okay, thank you, Ahmed. Any other question from anyone? Okay, so I'm going to just, okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you all for making our time to be in the session. I hope we all got to learn one or two, and I hope we'll be implementing it, wherever space we find ourselves. Thank you, everyone. Please do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.